Welcome. Come sit by the fire. Tonight, the hermit wants to tell you about the boy who was afraid to walk home in the dark.
The boy lived in a village at the edge of the dunes, and every evening as the sun went down, he would beg someone, anyone, to walk him the short distance home rather than go alone. It was not a long walk, not even a dangerous one. But the moment the light left the sky, his mind filled the space between the well and his front door with every terrible thing it could imagine. Shapes that were not there, sounds that were only wind, a darkness that felt to him like something with intention, something waiting. One evening, no one was available to walk with him, and his grandfather, watching him hesitate at the well, sat down beside him instead of offering to come along. "Tell me," his grandfather said, "what is actually different about that path right now compared to this afternoon, when you walked it without any fear at all?" The boy thought about it. "It's dark now." "And what is the dark, exactly?" his grandfather asked. "Is it a thing? Does it have hands, or teeth, or a plan?" The boy admitted, slowly, that it wasn't a thing at all. It was only the absence of light. Nothing had been added to the path. Something had only been taken away, the seeing, not the safety. "The path is exactly as safe now as it was this afternoon," his grandfather said. "The sand has not changed. The distance has not changed. Only your eyes have less to work with, and your mind has rushed in to fill the gap with stories." The boy walked home alone that night for the first time. He walked slowly, and once or twice his heart still jumped at a sound that turned out to be nothing. But he arrived, safely, at his own door, and something in him had shifted. The dark had not become friendly. It had simply become ordinary again, the same familiar path, just harder to see. The hermit says most of what frightens us in darkness, whether it is nightfall on a familiar path or simply the unknown parts of our own lives we cannot yet see clearly, is not something added to the situation. It is only something taken away, our ability to see clearly, and our minds rush in to fill that gap with stories that are rarely as true as they feel. Notice, if you can, whatever darkness feels present tonight. Notice that it has not added anything. It has only taken away your ability to see for a moment.
A trader once refused to travel any route that could not be completed entirely in daylight, no matter how much time or distance it cost him. He carried extra lamps, extra oil, and still avoided any stretch of road where nightfall might catch him. One season, a delay at a border crossing meant that despite all his planning, darkness fell while he was still an hour from the safety of the next town. He lit every lamp he carried, one after another, and still felt the darkness pressing in around the small circle of light, convinced that danger waited just beyond where his lamps could reach. An old guide traveling with him that season finally said, "You are trying to light the whole night. That has never been done, and it does not need to be done. You only need to see the next few steps in front of you. The lamp was never meant to defeat the darkness. It was only meant to show you where to place your feet." The trader had never thought of it this way. He had been measuring his lamps against the size of the entire night, an impossible standard, rather than against the actual size of the task, which was only ever the next stretch of path directly ahead of him. He finished that crossing more calmly than he expected, watching only the small circle of ground his lamp actually illuminated, trusting that the next circle of light would appear when he needed it, one step at a time, all the way to the town gates. The hermit says we often try to light up an entire uncertain future at once, our whole unknown path stretching out into the dark, and despair when we cannot see all of it clearly. But no lamp has ever been built to illuminate the whole night. It only ever needs to show the next few steps. You do not need to see the whole path tonight, only the next few steps, whenever you are ready to take them. At an oasis some distance from the hermit's usual stretch of desert, there once lived a well keeper who had been blind since birth. Travelers were often surprised, even uneasy, to learn that the person drawing their water in the dark hours before dawn could not see at all. But the well keeper moved through his work with complete confidence, drawing water, guiding animals to drink, repairing the well's mechanism by touch alone, entirely unbothered by an absence of sight that would have terrified most sighted travelers if it had suddenly happened to them. A young traveler once asked him, "Are you not afraid, working in the dark all the time?" The well keeper laughed gently. "To me, there is no dark. There has never been a difference between your daytime and your nighttime. I have simply learned this place with my hands, my ears, the sound of water, the feel of the rope. What you call darkness is only unfamiliar to eyes that expect light. It has never been unfamiliar to me." He added, "You fear the dark because you have only ever learned to navigate by sight, and sight has been taken from you. I never depended on it in the first place, so nothing has been taken from me at all." The hermit says this is worth sitting with. Much of our fear of the unknown comes not from the unknown itself, but from having built our whole sense of safety on one particular kind of seeing, one particular kind of certainty, and panicking the moment that specific kind is unavailable, even though other ways of finding our way have always been available too. You have navigated by more than sight before, by feel, by memory, by trust, by the simple fact of putting one foot in front of the other. These do not disappear just because the usual light is gone. Trust for a moment that you know how to find your way by more than sight alone. Some desert caravans, the hermit says, choose to travel only at night, deliberately, not out of fear, but out of wisdom, since the harsh daytime heat is far more dangerous to their animals than any darkness ever could be. These night caravans learn an entirely different relationship with the dark than the one most people carry. For them, darkness is not the dangerous time, it is the safe time, the merciful time, the hours when the desert itself becomes gentler than it is under the punishing sun. A young guide, new to this work, once admitted his old fear of the dark to an older guide as they traveled together under a moonless sky. The older guide said, "You have spent your life being told that darkness is when danger comes. Here, we have learned the opposite. The sun is what could kill you out here. The dark is what lets us survive the crossing at all." The young guide sat with this for the rest of that journey, watching the same stars every night, gradually coming to feel something closer to gratitude for the dark than fear of it, simply by spending enough time inside it to notice that what he had been told to fear was, in this particular place, the very thing keeping him and his animals alive. The hermit says the dark is not universally one thing. What feels dangerous in one context can be exactly what protects us in another. Sometimes what we call darkness, an ending, an uncertainty, a period without clear answers, is not the threat we assume it to be. Sometimes it is only unfamiliar, doing quiet, necessary work we have not yet learned to recognize. Consider, gently, whether some darkness in your own life might be doing quieter work than you have given it credit for. The hermit admits that his own first night alone in this stretch of desert, many years ago now, was one of the most frightening nights of his life. though almost nothing about the actual desert had changed from the daylight hours he had already grown somewhat used to. He remembers sitting by a fire much smaller and less steady than the one he keeps now, listening to every distant sound, certain that each one carried some danger specifically meant for him. He barely slept. He fed the fire far more wood than it needed, simply to keep the light larger, as though a bigger fire could somehow argue more convincingly against the size of the night surrounding it. Morning came, as it always does, and nothing had happened. The distant sounds, he came to learn over many more nights like it, were simply the ordinary business of a desert at night. Animals, wind, settling sand, none of it aimed at him at all. He says it took many more nights before the fear fully quieted, and even now, he admits, an occasional unfamiliar sound in the dark still tightens something in his chest for a moment before he remembers what he has learned. But the sharp edge of that first terrifying night is long gone, worn smooth by simply continuing to sit through enough ordinary nights to learn that the darkness itself had never actually been the danger. He tells travelers this so they know that even someone who has sat by this fire for longer than he can count once feared the exact same ordinary dark that frightens them now. The fear did not mean anything was wrong with him. It only meant he had not yet spent enough nights learning what was actually there. Whatever unfamiliar dark you are sitting with tonight, know that fear of it does not mean something is wrong. It only means you have not yet had enough nights to learn what is actually there. The hermit says there is a particular faint cluster of stars, delicate and easy to miss, that simply cannot be seen at all during the day, no matter how clear the sky. A young traveler once complained to him that she missed the sun, missed the easy visibility of daytime, and felt that nightfall only ever took something away from her. The comfort of seeing everything clearly, replaced with nothing but uncertainty. The hermit pointed upward, instead of answering directly, toward the faint cluster now visible above them. "That has been there the entire time," he said. "Every single day, right through the brightest hours of sunlight. But you have never once seen it, because the very brightness you love for its comfort is exactly what hides it from you." The traveler looked up for a long while at the delicate cluster, something she realized she had never noticed in her entire life, despite it always being there, waiting for darkness to reveal it. "The night does not only take away," the hermit said. "Sometimes it reveals things that brightness was always hiding, simply because brightness, for all its comfort, is not the only condition under which something true can be seen." The hermit says the uncertain, unlit periods of our own lives sometimes work the same way, uncomfortable, harder to navigate, but occasionally revealing something about ourselves or our circumstances that the busy brightness of ordinary daytime living never had the conditions to show us. Consider whether tonight's darkness, whatever form it takes, might be revealing something rather than only hiding something. A traveler once arrived at the hermit's fire deeply shaken, having spent the previous hour convinced that something was following him along the ridge just beyond his sight, always a little behind him, always just out of view. He described hearing footsteps, seeing shapes at the edge of his vision, feeling a presence he could not quite confirm, no matter how quickly he turned to look. The hermit listened patiently and then asked simply, "Did you actually see anything, clearly, even once?" The traveler admitted he had not. Every glimpse had been at the very edge of his sight, gone the instant he turned toward it directly. "The edge of what we can see," the hermit said, "is where the mind does its most active imagining, precisely because there is just enough information to suggest something and not quite enough to confirm or deny it. In that gap, Fear fills in whatever shape it likes. He walked with the traveler back along the ridge the next morning in full daylight, and they found nothing. No tracks, no signs, nothing at all beyond ordinary sand and stone that had likely simply shifted or caught the low evening light strangely the night before. The hermit says the edges of our perception, the things almost seen, almost heard, almost known, are where fear does its most convincing work, precisely because there is not quite enough there to prove it wrong, and the mind, given that little gap, will nearly always fill it with something frightening rather than something neutral. Whatever has felt like it was lurking at the edge of your awareness tonight, consider that the edge itself, not anything actually there, may be doing all the frightening. The hermit has grown used to the sound of a particular owl that calls most nights from somewhere near his fire. A low, steady sound that once, long ago, startled him badly before he learned what it was. He says the owl hunts almost entirely by night, its eyes built for exactly the conditions that most frighten human travelers. What is nearly useless darkness to us is, to the owl, simply how the world normally looks. It does not experience the night as an absence of something. It experiences the night as simply its own ordinary daytime, no different in kind from how daylight feels to us. He says he has come to feel a kind of kinship with the owl over his years at this fire, not because he can see in the dark the way it can, but because he has slowly learned to feel less afraid of the same hours the owl has never feared at all. Hours that are only frightening to a creature that has decided, ahead of time, that darkness itself must mean danger. The owl asks nothing of the night except that it be exactly what it is. It does not resist the dark or long for daylight. It simply lives fully within the hours it has been given, and finds those hours entirely sufficient for its whole life. The hermit says this is worth aspiring to, not eliminating our fear of uncertain or unclear periods entirely, but learning, slowly, the way he has learned with the owl's call, that these hours do not have to be feared simply because they are unfamiliar. They can, in time, become simply another kind of ordinary. Let whatever uncertain hours you are in right now become, slowly, simply another kind of ordinary. A woman in a village near the dunes once refused to enter a particular storage room in her home after dark, convinced, though she could not say exactly why, that something in that darkened room felt wrong to her. During the day, she moved through the room freely, retrieving what she needed without a second thought, since daylight through its small window showed her clearly that it held nothing but ordinary shelves, tools, and stored grain, exactly as it always had. But after dark, the same room, unchanged in every physical way, filled her with a dread she could not explain or reason away, despite knowing logically that nothing about its contents had changed since that afternoon. Her daughter, young and curious, once asked her directly what she thought was actually different about the room at night. The woman admitted honestly that she did not know. Nothing had ever happened there. No incident, no reasonable cause, only a feeling that arrived reliably each evening and left just as reliably each morning. Eventually, at her daughter's gentle urging, she began entering the room after dark with a small lamp, at first only briefly, then a little longer each time, until the dread, though it never entirely vanished, lost enough of its grip that the room became eventually simply a room again, day or night. The hermit says some fears of the dark, of the unknown, of uncertain periods in our lives, have no clear origin at all, no incident we can point to, no reasonable explanation, only a feeling that arrives and departs on its own schedule. These fears are not less real for lacking a clear cause, but they are often loosened the same way the woman loosened hers, not through understanding why the fear exists, but through small, repeated, gentle contact with the very thing feared, until familiarity slowly does the work that reasoning alone could not. If some fear tonight has no clear cause you can name, that does not mean it cannot loosen with time and gentle familiarity. There is one thing the hermit says more than anything else, so often that travelers who stay with him for even a few nights find themselves saying it back to him before they leave. The desert does not hurry, and so nothing in it is ever late. The dark falls at its own pace, every evening, the same as it always has, and lifts again every morning, the same as it always will. It does not rush to frighten you, and it does not owe you an early dawn simply because the night feels long. You are allowed the same pace tonight. You do not need to see the whole path ahead of you right now. You do not need the entire night to make sense all at once. The dark does not require anything of you except that you rest inside it, the way the owl rests inside it, the way the well-keeper has always moved through it, unafraid. Let your breathing slow to match the fire, low and steady. Let your body sink into the sand beneath you, still holding a little of the day's warmth, cooling now under a sky scattered with more stars than anyone could count, some of them only visible because of the very dark you have been sitting with tonight. The hermit will keep the fire through the night. You do not need to see the whole path. You only need to rest. Sleep well, and thank you for joining us here at the fire with the Desert Hermit.